Alan Moore is finally leaving comic books, and that's maybe a good thing, maybe a bad thing, depends on your take. Hello, nerds, and welcome to this week's episode of The News as it pertains to comic books and books. No discussion of current storylines, story arcs, or any of those kind of details is going to happen here per se. I am, after all, a one-man organization and can't read every book that comes out and report on it and any of the news therein. But we can talk about new announcements and major changes as they pertain to any of the publishers that we follow, or just generally nerdy literary information in that sense. So let's get into all of that, shall we? And also, if you dig what's going on here, there is a much more up-to-date and possibly relevant, because it takes a second to get these sections posted up, so probably much more up-to-date version of the news in long form I like to call The Week in Nerddom over on the main channel, which you can find linked in the description as well as at the end of this video. That show covers many more points of interest in the nerd community, in the pop culture community at large, and so definitely go check that out. Now let's get into all of those literary notes, shall we? Yeah, let's talk about this. No follow-ups or corrections, no trailers to speak of. We just have a couple of pieces of news and then your suggested read for the week. So let's do that. First piece of news is Alan Moore. Alan Moore has said for years and years and years that he's going to be getting out of the comic book game, and now his final book is set to be published. The final book is going to be called The Moon and Serpent. I don't know where the emphasis is supposed to be on this line, so I apologize. I'm going to try that again. The Moon and Serpent Bumper Book of Magic. Or The Moon and Serpent Bumper Book of Magic. Something like that. Yeah, Alan Moore is leaving. It will be on shelves this October. It's going to be a collection of not just comics, though. It's going to be comics and prose, similar to if you read League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, where there would be like a page of words, and then we'd get a couple of pages of panels, and then a page of words. That's what it sounds like we're going to be getting with this release from Alan Moore. And then he's done. He's retiring from comic books and is going to do probably some other form of writing, probably novelizations of his thoughts or collections of prose, whatever. It's Alan Moore. He's just kind of crazy and weird, and it's kind of awesome. I am a bit of an Alan Moore fan. Are you? Let's have that conversation down in the comments section, shall we? That's what we got on that one, though. The other one is a new book on Dark Horse. Dark Horse has announced they're going to be putting out a new book called Medusa. That's right, a book that focuses around the Greek mythological character of Medusa. It's going to be written and drawn by Tony Parker. Color from Tamra Bonvillain. Is twisting the original myth of Medusa into her being a sympathetic protagonist. And I'm kind of intrigued by this, which is why we're talking about it. There hasn't been a whole lot of forward motion in comic books for a while. So very interesting. Keep our eyes on it. That's kind of all we got. Let's move now into our suggestions for this week. If you don't remember, I'm going to refresh your memory. There is a very big surprise coming in the TV section, and it has to do with our suggestion for books this week, comic books and books, is Neuromancer. Neuromancer is your suggestion. The classic cyberpunk novel written by William Gibson, came out in 1984. It is one of the best books you will read in your entire life. I cannot stress that enough. If you dig science fiction, even in the slightest, if you are a fan of the cyberpunk aesthetic, this is kind of where it all sort of started. I'm not going to say that he's the originator of the subgenre. He's just the guy who perfected it. Kind of like rock and roll. The Beatles kind of created rock and roll in the modern sense, and then The Who perfected it, right? So in this situation, William Gibson is The Who, and ain't nothing wrong with that. So yes, absolutely 100%. Neuromancer is the book to read. Case and Molly are waiting for you to read about their misadventures together. Go check it out. That is your suggestion this week. That brings us to the end of the video, nerds. Thank you very much for joining me for the news. Once again, there is a full and probably much more up-to-date and recent episode of the news, the full-length version, if you will, called The Week in Nerddom over on the main channel, linked down in the description, and probably link popping up somewhere around my face right about now. So click on that, go check that out as well, or if you prefer your news in more truncated pieces, then by all means just stick around here and go check out some of the other stuff we offer on this channel. Thank you very much for joining me. We will see you in the next one. Before we go, always remember, nerds, that if it is generally nerdy, it's probably here.